Tell me what your name is.
Michael Schneider.
Hi, Mike. How are you? Tell me what your position is here.
I'm a public safety dispatcher with the Bureau of Communications, St. Louis County Police Department.
Okay, so today we're just kind of taking a look around the new EOC where communications is housed now. Tell me about where 911 calls come in and how this all works.
Okay, so this side of the room basically is our 911 side. All the desks you see here, all the way through the back. Anywhere with a green light, there should be somebody working on the 911 calls. So we get answer 911 calls as well as emergency and non-emergency calls for service on our non-emergency line that you can call directly. At that point, each call that comes in gets assigned to a dispatcher that's sitting over here. They'll answer the phone call and interview each of the callers, and with that information they gain from the interview, the address, the nature of the call, exactly what's going on, any important information that we need, they enter in on their computer to a call for service. The call for service then gets routed over to the other side of the screen on the radio. They got multiple areas over here. They can see which all the other calls for service are on their screen. They can also see what each of the cars are doing. They have maps in case someone is calling. We can pull up a aerial view of their house or business, wherever they're calling about, so we can speak with them when they say they're going to the back. We can understand where they mean when they say they're going to the back of the residence or an area of the parking lot. Or
sounds like a lot of technology. If you've been doing this before, all the maps and the Google stuff, do you think was harder, even if they were just using map books, things like that?
It is a little bit harder because some days either the maps don't work or they go down, or it's just faster to do it without it. But it does help enable to be able to have that available. Sometimes the maps are still old though, so it does depend on the caller. They do have to give us good information in order for us to give good information to the officers.
Yeah. Now, who is this? Looks like she's taking a call right now.
Yes, this is one of our dispatchers, Megan. She's currently on a call trying to get the address to be located here.
So once she kind of determines what the nature of the call is, it goes where?
Once she determines the nature of the call, gets a valid address and a nature, it goes over to the other side of the room here. These are our radios. They're set up geographically, so that end of the room is the north end, all the way to South County over here.
So each station is like kind of a different area of the metropolitan area
yes.
of St. Louis County.
Yes, so all the officers, are based on where they're supposed to be located geographically, are on a different radio. And so their radio dispatchers are set up in different areas. You get the north end over there, all the way down to the south end over here.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how the dispatching works. They get a call to the 911 center, then they move over to this area. When you say they're dispatching what?
They're dispatching the actual calls to the officers on the street. So they call out which officer they need based on what officer zone it's in.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll call out the officer. The officer responds saying he's listening, and then we'll give the call to them. So we will give them the address, the nature, any important comments, like if anybody has weapons or descriptions of people that they would need to look for when they go on scene. And then the officer will reply that they're en route. After that happens, the officer drives there. We continue possibly dispatching other calls, speaking with other officers. Other officers might be calling on traffic. When the officers arrive, they say they go 10:23 and arrive on scene, so we time when they go on scene.
Now, do we dispatch EMS as well?
No, we don't dispatch for EMS. When the 911 calls in for EMS, that gets transferred over to Central County Fire. They're the main dispatching center for EMS in St. Louis County, and they handle all the EMS questions and stuff like that and send out to the fire department. We do have a fire mutual aid channel you might be able to hear now, but we can just speak directly with the fire dispatching agency, Central County Fire, over the radio that we have just between us and them and the other.
So you still do use these like 911 radios to talk to each other?
Yes, we do. It's actually comes through the headset. We can use multiple channels through this main screen over here.
That's absolutely. You guys stay pretty busy.
We do it sometimes. It just, you never know what you're going to be busy at a certain moment or not. You can be busy for 20 minutes and then not busy, for a little bit. So you just never know.
What are some of the most difficult calls you guys get? maybe in a shift in a day? What's one of your most difficult calls?
Definitely one of them is when you can tell there's a serious emergency going on and people can't give the address. Because we can't send an officer out without at least an address. Even if they can't tell you what's going on, we can still send an officer out as long as we have an address. But if we don't have that
Yep.
address, we have absolutely nowhere to start with.
And I think a lot of people have the misinterpretation of how cell phones work, and the fact that sometimes you can't pinpoint that cell phone as easily as a landline. Does that seem to be an issue sometimes?
That's correct. Yeah, the landlines basically come up with the address that they're registered to. They should be, right at that address pretty much as soon as we get the call. The landlines, the cell phones, the first time we get them, is going to come up with generally the location of the tower, which might be, a mile or two away from where the caller is actually at. If we specifically know that the caller doesn't really have an idea of where they're at, after we've been on the phone for at least 30 seconds, we can rebid that. It'll give us generally a closer area, depending on how the cell phone's working with the towers. But even then, it's not going to be specific. And if they're moving, it's really not going to work very well either.
Right.
Just because it doesn't work very well.
Okay, we got some people right here in the center of the room. Tell me about this. Who's up here?
We do. This is our supervisor console. Our watch supervisors are up here. They're able to answer phones, talk on the radios. They have our CAD system, which shows all the calls for service, just like the radios and the phones see. So if they see any problems, they can look up there to see what's going on as the callers or the radios are entering comments into those calls for service. They answer the supervisor phones up there, as well as have a couple other computers for other systems that we use just for like the building and a couple other police department related.
Someone on here says that they accidentally butt dialed 911. What happens in those situations?
Well, we get the call. Usually, if it's from a cell phone, we get quite a few butt dials. So we'll answer to try to get them to answer. Sometimes they notice that somebody's speaking in their pocket, so they'll pick it up and say, "Sorry, that was accidental." If not, we'll hang up and call the person back every time. Again, just ask them, "Is everything okay?" Or so just be honest. If you get one, yes, it was a butt dial. Sorry, or is it was accidental, or we get kids playing on the phone or anything like that. So we'll call them back. Obviously, if it was a good call and there was an emergency, we'll try to get the address and follow up and figure out who we need to send. But butt dials, just answer them and say, "Hey, it was accidental." That way, we're not worrying about if it was an emergency call that we actually missed.
So if you had one bit of advice for people who have to call 911, what would be one of the most important things for them to say when they are calling?
Well, I guess just stay calm and make sure you get the address first. A lot of people want to tell us what's going on, which is important. But we definitely need to get that address first so we can start the officers as soon as we can.
Thank you.